Initially, I really thought of a GV70 as a vehicle that we could drive into retirement. The car doesn't have 100 miles since we got it back from the dealership, and the code is off again. You can divide it in two. The first 10,000 miles, no problem. Appointments are really hard to come by. So at this point, Genesis owed me about $500 in rentals. Tell me if you will be annoyed with this type of minutia. For all the reasons mentioned in the video, I don't think I can recommend this vehicle to others. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share something very important with you about my experience with the 2024 Genesis GV70. If you're a current owner or considering buying one, you need to hear this. I've had this thing for a little over a year, and in the last few months, I've encountered reliability issues that have led to 2 unscheduled service visits in the last 2 months for a total of 4 services in the first almost 17,000 miles. I'm making this video as an update and as a warning to you about these issues and to help you make an informed decision. So let's get into it. And like always, let me be clear, this is just my experience and I really hope that everyone else's is better. Actually, there are things that keep surprising me about our GV70 because we recently had a couple of chances to take it off-roading, just some rough terrains, and I love the ground clearance that allows for moderate off-road use, and I felt the all-wheel drive traction doing its thing, trying to find traction so that our vehicle kept us safe. I mean, it doesn't have any off-road modes or the appropriate tires, but it still performs really well. But like with any car, it's gonna have issues, right? So this video is not necessarily an update, but more about how my initial positive impressions about this vehicle have eroded over time. And put it this way, if this GV70 hadn't given us the issues that it has lately, I would still continue to love it because initially, I really thought of a GV70 as a vehicle that we could drive into retirement. And now let's get into the service appointments, which is the reason why I'm making this video. About 2 months ago, I posted a video about my last service visit, and in less than 2 months, I had to take it back again for the very same issues. You're not gonna believe this. I just posted that video where I said that the code, the DTC P030400, went off 6 times in the last 3 months. We took it to the shop, we picked it up. My wife drove it to work for the last 3 days. I mean, the car doesn't have 100 miles since we got it back from the dealership, and the code is off again. In total, in the first 13 months, I've had to take my GV70 in for service 4 times. 2 of those were scheduled maintenance appointments, which were pretty standard. I mean, I cannot complain. It's the nature of a gas engine car. Oil changes every set amount of miles. And the other 2, however, were unscheduled and due to issues with the fuel injection system. We have put almost 17,000 miles, so this is no garage queen, and I expected to put a lot of miles on this car, and I did so for the first 8 months, but then this vehicle started to fall out of favor, and I started opting to drive my much older Lexus GS300. And I would say that the first 10,000 miles, you can divide it in 2. The first 10,000 miles, no problems. But right after that mark is that I started seeing a check engine light appear and disappear, which turned out to be a bad fuel injection assembly. And I took it in for service early December, or about 2 months prior to the making of this video. And to be honest with you, the issue didn't affect the drivability of the GV70, but in a couple of occasions, I might have noticed a rough idle and maybe some hesitation during acceleration. It turned out to be a problem with the fuel injection system, specifically fuel injector assembly number 4. They also lubricated loud power steering assist, for which I also wrote it up. The dealership had no loaners, and Genesis approved for a rental for the duration of the call. But for that, my wife, who's the one that took it in for service, was given a reference number, and she had to call Genesis to get approved to get a rental, for which Genesis will reimburse us later. My wife was put in a Subaru crossover rental from the store next door, for which 2 months later, I am still waiting for the reimbursement. The dealership was able to fix both issues under warranty, but it did take 7 days. And I mentioned this because I want to be as fair as possible. No car is going to be void of small issues here and there, and that's what initial comprehensive warranties are for. So I do not mind vehicles having small issues. I mean, after all, it was designed and put together by humans, right? But at the end of the day, each visit takes time from either me or my wife, and that's annoying. We had to take time off work to take the car in for service, and that's not a lot of fun. So the first 2 scheduled maintenance calls were done using the Genesis Valet feature, which I would rate as amazing and very convenient. But I did have to take time off work to hand the key to the valet, right? They picked it up. And I didn't get a loaner that time. Neither of those 2 times I got a loaner, which is no big deal. I mean, in fact, I've never been lucky enough to merit a loaner. So those first 2 times that they picked up our GV70, I just waited at home and the car was delivered back freshly washed within a few hours, which was nice. So it was right after that second scheduled maintenance that the issue started. And like I explained in my 1-year update video, I initially didn't make an appointment, which was a big mistake because the check engine light went away. I realized that appointments are really hard to come by. I mean, they're usually 6 to 8 weeks away. And less than a week after I picked up the vehicle from the first service, I had the same issue that cropped up again. Another code that was really similar to the one that sent our car to the doctor. P030300 instead of 400. So in a nutshell, it's a recurring problem with the fuel injection system. This time they had to replace another fuel injection assembly along with the high pressure fuel rail. And it was a little bit more annoying and frustrating because it makes me think that the defective parts are being replaced with identical parts that are only kicking the bucket down the road, and eventually all 4 are gonna fail. And if these parts have not been revised, they will be prone to failure eternally, which will make this car a financial burden once it's out of warranty. And I'm also bothered by the fact that this is not the first-year model of this car. Genesis has had this vehicle in production for a couple of years at least. So you would think that by now they would have sorted out all the issues, and apparently not. Furthermore, in my first video about this car, I had said that I was looking forward to a Lexus-like experience, which our Genesis has not been. In fact, this is the vehicle in my entire life that I have taken in for unscheduled visits the most in our first year of ownership. The service advisor told me that they only had 5 loaners, which I think is insufficient because there have got to be more than 5 cars in for service at all times at that dealership. And once again, I had to call Genesis to get approved, to get a rental for which they will reimburse me later. The service advisor offered to have someone take me to the rental place, but I needed that half-mile walk. And I'm gonna come back to this one because this is very important in the overall experience. This is coming from Genesis, and apparently it's another fuel injection assembly that needs replacement, just like the last time. Now it's a different fuel injection assembly. There's a reason why these fuel injection assemblies fail. So having it replaced with another one of the same one leads me to believe that eventually this one is gonna fail too. And it's only 16,000 miles in the life of the vehicle. The vehicle I got from Hertz was a 2024 Ford Escape. This is what me and the wife have been driving for the last 3 days. And not only this is a rental, I mean, I don't mind it. It's not that bad. Look, it's a Ford Escape. It's the ST line. It's a hassle, guys. I picked it up on Friday. I basically dropped off the Genesis. I had to call customer service to open a ticket for them to approve of a rental. And then they told me I had to call them if the repair was going to take more than 3 days so that they could escalate it. That's their word. They escalate a case. And so that's what I did today because they called me today. Today is Monday. So I dropped it off on Friday and I knew I was going to burn through Saturday and Sunday because they don't work on cars on the weekend. They fixed my Genesis today and they told me, hey, come and pick it up. But I was at work and I couldn't do it. So right now is the first chance that I get to talk to the wife. You're buying a $60,000 vehicle to get put into a rental. Last time it was a Subaru something, and this one is a Escape with a digital cluster from, looks like 1980. And not everything was negative. I mean, they estimated that our vehicle will be ready by Tuesday, but it was actually ready a day prior, and that was really nice. My wife had to go pick it up. She dropped off the vehicle at Hertz, and they called a lift for her free of charge. And then she went to pick up the GV70. And despite these hiccups, the scheduled maintenance appointments were pretty straightforward. The personnel, I mean, the human factor of this, I hadn't had an issue. They're courteous, they're professional, the dealership provided with excellent customer service, the routine checks and repairs were performed without any issues. But having to deal with 2 unscheduled visits for the same problem was definitely a downside. The only thing I would give this last visit was that the vehicle wasn't washed when my wife picked it up. The service advisor was very polite. She noticed it right away. I mean, in her defense, she offered a wash, although my wife hadn't even noticed. But my wife was really busy and she couldn't wait. Like I said, no biggie. We're easy customers, so I'm not gonna go on Yelp and write them a nasty review, but I'll leave it up to you to tell me if you will be annoyed with this type of minutia. In a situation like this, I feel for the employees who have to be the face of the brand. It's not their fault that vehicles fail. I mean, they all have issues, and I just try not to be too demanding. And to add a little bit of salt to injury, when talking to my wife about the whole deal, we realized that we never got reimbursed for the rental from the prior visit, although we had submitted all the proper paperwork. And I called Genesis the very next day that we noticed it, and the person on the other side of the line admitted that the claim had been properly submitted by us, but that they had failed to process the reimbursement. So at this point, Genesis owed me about $500 in rentals, and I haven't submitted this last claim yet because I want to wait until they refund me for the first rental from 2 months ago. To sum it up, the 2024 Genesis GV70 is a fantastic car in terms of design, comfort, and features. It's a shame that my experience has been marred by recurring issues with the fuel injection system in the last 6,000 miles, leading to 2 service calls. It has been down for a combined 11 days plus the other 2.5 days for the scheduled maintenance. It's essential to consider these factors when making your decision. We are blessed with a dealership that is only a few miles away from us, but I know that some of you that are interested in the Genesis brand may not be in the same situation, and recurring issues like the ones mentioned in this video with their GV70 may ruin the whole experience. I really wish I had nothing bad to report. Boring is good for me. I just want a reliable car for an uneventful ownership experience. Bad for content creation because there will be no drama to report. My wife and I have better things to do than to take our cars in for service and be concerned with check engine lights and stuff like that. If the first 13 months of ownership are a reflection of the GV70 will be long-term, I'm not interested in driving this vehicle into the sunset. And for all the reasons mentioned in the video, I don't think I can recommend this vehicle to others because the small but recurring issues that we had in the last 6,000 miles makes me believe that my experience has been below average. So I cannot recommend to you a below average vehicle. Like I said earlier in the video, this is the vehicle that I've taken to most unscheduled visits in just my first year of ownership. So how can I recommend a vehicle like this? And it's a shame because this great looks and the awesome driving dynamics of the vehicle are not enough for me to overlook the small but constant issues that we've had lately with this vehicle. It has made me rethink my relationship with new cars. Maybe it's just time to ditch technologically complex new vehicles and opt for pre-owned, proven, reliable vehicles. I mean, I've hit gold with my now gone 2007 Acura TSX. That vehicle had over 250,000 miles. It was so reliable. And then the one that I drive right now, my daily driver, is a 2003 Lexus GS300. Super reliable for the first 10,000 miles that I've had it. The car has a little bit over 100,000 miles, and the vehicle is super reliable. And maybe that's the route. I don't know. Maybe go back to a Lexus. I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep this vehicle, but I'll keep you posted about it. But tell me, have you had bad experiences with this brand, or maybe a good experience that you want to share with us? Leave it in the comments. And maybe if you have any questions, leave me a comment too. And maybe consider subscribing, like this video. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.